What's up, everybody? This is your boy Josh Burton from Everything College Basketball. We're here today to talk about the Big Ten Conference Tournament Championships beginning today. If you're watching this as it comes out, tomorrow for me as I'm recording on Tuesday, live from Indianapolis in the old Bankers Life Fieldhouse. I think it's called Gamebridge Fieldhouse now. People who've lived in Indiana so long, we still like to even say Market Square Arena. That's an old building. It's no longer there. But we're talking Big Ten hoops. And how about the champs from this year, the regular season champs, Michigan State Spartans? I think it's been one of the better jobs Tom Izzo has done this year. After some disappointing, like they weren't great, but weren't bad last year, NCAA tournament team. But they rallied this year, and it's a typical Tom Izzo team. Tough as nails. They've got an elite player in Jace Richardson. They're just tough. And when you look at Tom Izzo teams historically, they get after you. They are tough. They will not go away. They will not shy away. They found big wins throughout the course of the regular season and closed out with a lead of 3 games to win the conference over Maryland, over Michigan, who tied at 14-16 or 14-6. Michigan State won the league at 17-3 in conference play. You look at Sparty, 4th in the conference defensively, fourth in the conference in offense, number 1 defense. They were elite on defense this year in league play. And we're talking about a Big Ten that had been very top heavy the last couple of years with the likes of Purdue. Illinois made a little run the last couple of years. But this year, balanced from top to bottom with the new additions of UCLA coming to the conference. Washington finished dead last, so they didn't really contribute much. But Oregon was really good coming over from the former Pac-12. The Big Ten finished second in the conference standing, or in the conference rankings behind the SEC, and we know how historic the SEC was this year. If the SEC is projected to get 13 teams, the Big Ten is going to likely get 10 or 11 themselves. That's how good the league from top to bottom depth-wise this year has been. Maryland been a really big surprise as well. We figured that they would be good coming into the year. We didn't know how good Kevin Willard's team was, but freshman sensation Derek Queen has been phenomenal on the interior. They're getting great production out of guys like Julian Reese. Maryland has been a sensation in the league this year, tying for second with Michigan. Dusty May's team in his first year at Michigan, Vlad Golden, and other really good players. I'm losing his name right now. Danny Wolf. How can I forget Danny Wolf coming in from Yale? You're talking about 2 7-footers that like to run the pick and roll to each other. 7 foot to 7 foot. Danny Wolf is basically a 7 foot, should be a center, but a 7 foot point center, point forward, whatever you want to call him, running that pick and roll, dropping dimes, hitting shots. If he gets a smaller guy on him, takes him and goes traditional in the post work on him. Roddy Gale comes from Ohio State. That's been okay. Not maybe what he was at Ohio State, but still dangerous enough. Trey Donaldson he started for Auburn the last couple of years. Wasn't an offensive threat, but we had Dusty May on the show about a month ago, and he talked and just raved about the development of Trey Donaldson from an offensive standpoint. He was always good defensively, always tough. But offensively, Trey Donaldson's came a long way this year. This is a really good Michigan team that finished tied for second in the league standings. You look at Wisconsin, what they're able to do with John Tanji, able to get buckets, literally had multiple 30-point nights this year. Purdue, Braden Smith just got player of the year in the league. They've got a 3-headed monster in Braden Smith, Trave Kaufman-Renn, and Fletcher Lawyer. I worry about their depth outside of those 3. But nonetheless, Matt Painter's men have been really good again this year. UCLA, first year in the league, has been really, really talented. Play hard defense. It's a typical Mick Cronin style team where it's low possession, grind it out in the half court, but they wear you down eventually. They went on a nice run of games in the middle of the league season where they won 7 in a row from January 17th to February 8th. Then they kind of traded wins and losses back and forth to end the regular season. Nonetheless, really good team. Tyler Bilodeau is a matchup nightmare when he gets rolling. 6'9", face up, can shoot the 3, take you off the bounce. They play hard-nosed defense. They are a tough out in tournament situations because of that. Illinois is a team that's got a lot of talent. Kasper Siakis, when he's not hurt, he is an NBA potential lottery pick for the things he can do at the point guard spot. Will Riley underperformed at times throughout the year, but finishes the year strong with a big performance against Purdue. They've got a lot of talent. They've not put it all together, but if they can, they could easily not only win the Big Ten tournament this week, but could go on a run in March Madness as well. Oregon, we've talked about coming over. A lot of talent, athleticism, some size as well. You're talking about Nate Biddle, a versatile 7-footer. Indiana finishes 10-10 in the conference this year, but playing their best basketball to date. Mike Woodson announces about a month ago that he would be retiring at the end of the year. Since then, they've played free and fun. They've whittled their rotation down. They're not playing so much as the too big, old school kind of offense. They're getting after teams. They're playing their best basketball right now. Rutgers has the storyline coming into this year. Not great in conference play, 8-12, 15-16. For them to be an NCAA tournament team, they're going to have to run the table and win the conference this week. But two absolutely not only outstanding freshmen, they were top 5 in the freshman rankings coming into this year, but 2 NBA lottery picks in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. That if you're picking one team that can get hot, you back the team that has 2 future lottery picks on their team, and Ace Bailey at 6'10" that just does remarkable things. Dylan Harper, just outstanding as well. They haven't got production and help from really everybody else, but those two, if they can get hot in this tournament in Indianapolis, wouldn't we love to see those two dancing in March? Because I think that would be a lot of fun. With that being said, let's take a look at the conference tournament here. Action begins today in Indianapolis at 3:30 p.m. with the 13-seed Northwestern Wildcats playing the 12-seeded Minnesota Golden Gophers. Both these teams, especially from a Northwestern standpoint, they've been very competitive, making NCAA tournaments as of late. Taking a step back this year, Minnesota's a team. Ben Johnson has found they're playing their best basketball of the year right now. They've lost 2 in a row in the regular season, but prior to that, they had beat USC, UCLA. They got a win over Nebraska on the road, a Nebraska team fighting for an NCAA tournament bid that probably killed their hopes at a bubble chance. They're going to need to win the conference tournament this week. They've got wins over Michigan and Iowa and Oregon. So they're playing their best basketball, even despite having only a 7-13 league standings this year. Dawson Garcia, a really talented player as a senior, 6'11", former North Carolina player. But, man, I think this is more of a pick 'em. Like, I don't think if you say Northwestern, you're right. If you say Minnesota, you're right. I think this is a pick 'em. I don't have a great read on this. I will take the team who I feel like is playing better here recently. I will say Minnesota, but, again, I think this is a pick 'em. The next game today, it looks like it's 25 minutes after, so we'll say roughly about 5:50. Iowa or Ohio State. Now, this has implications. Ohio State is currently on the bubble looking out. They're considered one of the last 4 teams out of the NCAA tournament. If you look at a lot of people's bracketology, some have them in. Some do have them in. But regardless, this is a tournament where Ohio State needs to go do some work. 17-14 overall, 9-11 in league play in the year with a chance and basically a winner stays, loser leaves town match against Indiana. The Hoosiers get the win. They're projected in the field. Ohio State is currently out. Ohio State has big wins at the beginning of the year. They beat Kentucky, beat them up real good too, up in New York City. They beat Texas, who's also in the bubble, to open the year up. They've played Auburn. Auburn killed them, but they've played them. They've beaten Purdue on the road. They've beat Nebraska, another bubble team, just recently. Bruce Thornton, Micah Parrish, John Mobley, one of the better shooters in college basketball as a freshman this year. Michi Johnson, Sean Stewart came in from Duke. They've got talent. Aaron Bradshaw coming in from Kentucky. They've got talent. They have just not found consistency. They need to do some work in this Big Ten tournament to try to find themselves in the big dance. Iowa, we can't swear by it, but this may be the swan song for Fran McCaffrey. Don't know. It just kind of feels like maybe his cycle's running out. But it's a typical Iowa team. They're 16-15, so the results aren't there like usual, because usually we're talking about Iowa as a top, 4 or 5 seed in this conference tournament, solid in the NCAA. But I mean, it's a typical Iowa team in terms of offense. They're 23rd in adjusted offense efficiency on KenPom, 162 defense. It's just who they've been under Fran McCaffrey. Great offense, not great defense. And so it's just like riding a roller coaster with the Iowa Hawkeyes. They do have some guys, though. Price Sanford has been pretty good. Price and Peyton Sanford's been pretty good for him this year. You're talking about a team that will shoot the three ball, will shoot high volumes of them. They make them at 37.7%. They do not turn the ball over. They're ninth in the country in taking care of the basketball and turnover percentage. Play at high tempo. But Ohio State backs against the wall. They need a victory here. A loss here would absolutely just kill them, and they're not even sniffing the NCAA tournament. I think back against the wall, Ohio State shows up. They get a big win, advance to Thursday afternoon. The final game of the first round, we talked about Rutgers. They're playing USC. Not been a great transition year for Eric Musselman, his first year at USC in the Big Ten for their first year in the league as well. They have really struggled. Losers of 6 of their last 7. Their only win was against the bottom of the Big Ten, Washington at home on senior day on last Wednesday, March 5th. They're similar in a way to Iowa in terms of top 40 offense, sub 100 defense. Things just have not clicked. Now, they do have Xavier transfer Desmond Claude that does have experience in these type of tournament situations, but really, when you look at what USC brings, it's hard to trust them if we're being honest. You look at Rutgers, we talked about Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. I think when the lights are brightest, I've always said this, when the lights are brightest, that's when the big-time talent shows up. All eyes tonight in Indianapolis will be on this game right here to see the stud freshman if they are capable of making a run. I think that at least one of them, whether it be Bailey or Harper, goes absolute bonkers. I actually expect both of them to go bonkers, and USC can't compete. Rutgers advances. That takes us to tomorrow, Thursday afternoon action at noon. Indianapolis, Indiana, currently on the right side of the bubble, but they're projected to be in Dayton, depending on who you look at. They're playing Oregon, a team, their only loss in the last 6 games. Had Oregon down last week on the road in Oregon, inside a minute to go, and Oregon was able to hit a long 3 from Jackson Shellstad, which he's done all year, and end up winning the game. Indiana had that game won, and just there's nothing you can do when Jackson Shellstad hits a 30-footer with a hand in his face contested. There's just nothing you can do about it. I think Indiana, again, we talked a lot in these conference previews about I take teams who have momentum. Indiana does have momentum. They found a way to beat Ohio State. Trey Galloway hit a huge 3 late in that ball game to seal the deal for him. He's been making big shots. They've whittled their rotation down. They're not playing dudes who aren't going to give great effort. They're splitting the bigs. They've got 2 really good bigs with different skill sets. Malik Renew is more off the bounce versatile. And then you've got Umar Bala, a big physical traditional presence inside. Trey Galloway is making plays. Anthony Leal is going to give them full max effort on the defensive end, make plays offensively. Luke Goody's a 3-point shooter. I think with a home crowd in front of them, Hoosier Nation will step up. It'll be a pro-Indiana crowd. IU beats Oregon to put to rest any fears of them missing the NCAA tournament. That'll be a quad 1 victory. They move on to Friday quarterfinal action where Michigan State is awaiting them. The second game of tomorrow in the second round, I have Wisconsin against Ohio State. Wisconsin against Minnesota. Let me rephrase that. Wisconsin. The way this bracket, if you see how this is designed, it's a little weird. Wisconsin against Minnesota. Look, Minnesota's playing well, but Wisconsin's too much. John Tanji, again, we've seen him go for big games. John Blackwell, Max Klesmith can really get going from the 3-point line. They're too much for Minnesota. I think Wisconsin moves on. Then we're talking about Ohio State against Illinois. Illinois is an extremely talented team, as I mentioned in the opening of this. Ohio State needing a win. The win against Iowa will not put them in the NCAA tournament, but a win here against Illinois may. They may still need one more after that, but I think a win against Illinois really puts them in a good spot. Back against the wall, they have talent. We've talked about Bruce Thornton. We've talked about Mobley. They have the pieces. Aaron Bradshaw back there blocking shots. Illinois is too talented. I think they've started to figure some things out here after not looking great about a month ago. They finished with a 3-game win streak against Iowa, Michigan, Purdue. Those latter 2 games, Michigan and Purdue, really great wins. It looks like maybe Illinois has found themselves again. Kylan Boswell has been, when Illinois is good, he has been a really good distributor and really good on the defensive end. Trey White has been making plays. Tomislav Ivicic has been making plays, both stepping out and shooting the 3-ball and making plays from the face-up back to the basket, depending on the matchup. Kasparas Yakuchonis, again, just an NBA player at his peak. I think Illinois puts a halt to any Ohio State dreams of an NCAA tournament. The Illini move on. And then that last game, Purdue against Rutgers. Now, this could get really interesting. Purdue, again, I worry about their depth outside of Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Renn, and Fletcher Lawyer. Purdue did not end the season on a great note. They were losers of 5 of their last 7 games after being in control and towards the top of the Big Ten, challenging the likes of Maryland and Michigan State. Losers of 5 of their last 7 games. They did just blow out Rutgers in Mackey Arena on Senior Day last Tuesday, March 4th. They beat them 100-71. They beat them in the first matchup back on January 9th, 68-50. So they have blown them out twice now. But tournament action brings out different stuff. Some teams play tight. I think if Rutgers can get by USC, they know, let's just play loose and see what happens. I think this could be a really nip and tuck ball game to where at the end, Rutgers has the ball, maybe even has a chance to win the game. And if you have a chance to win the game with 2 future pros, lottery players, anything can happen. I will take Purdue to win this, though. I think they're the better team overall outside of just individual talent. But they got to take care of the basketball, and they're going to need to get it. Purdue's path to victory in all these games, they need 2 of their big 3 to show out, whether it be Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer or Fletcher Lawyer and TKR or Braden Smith, TKR. They need 2 of the 3 to show out, and they need to take care of the basketball. If that doesn't happen and they start turning the ball over the place, they're susceptible to getting beat. I've got Purdue advancing. They're just the better team. That takes us to quarterfinal Friday. Indiana, Michigan State. Indiana went not that long ago to Michigan State to kind of spark this run that they've been on here lately. They went to Michigan State and got a win in East Lansing. There's a real part of me that wants to pick IU to win this game. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take IU. Teams with momentum. Home crowd. The state of Indiana will come down to Indianapolis. They'll be in their crimson. They'll be in their white. They'll be cheering their Hoosiers on. IU plays a style that can just, for whatever reason, cause Michigan State problems. Michigan State tough. They get after you, but the way Indiana's playing, I don't know if Michigan State can bully Indiana inside with guys like Umar Balo and Malik Renew like they can other teams in this league. And then if it comes down to a 3-point shooting contest or a jump shooting contest, well, Michigan State does have Jace Richardson, who, as I mentioned, has been phenomenal. But neither of these teams particularly shoot the 3-ball well. It's everything's in the paint and in. Indiana can play that game as well. They can score on the interior. But I think Indiana has a few more 3-point shooters if called upon, like a Luke Goody, Trey Galloway, Anthony Leal. There's something in my gut. Sometimes you get a gut and sometimes it's wrong, but there's a gut feeling that tells me IU wins this game. I've got IU beating Michigan State yet again. Then that brings me to Wisconsin and UCLA. Really interesting game. 2 physical teams. UCLA wants to grind it out, as we talked about. Wisconsin doesn't mind it, but Wisconsin's a little more offensive than Wisconsin teams in the past. But I think UCLA's defense is just suffocating when they're playing at their peak. Mick Cronin teams are, you go back to Cincinnati style, they're suffocating. I think UCLA will control possession, limit Wisconsin's look from the outside. And if you can get Tanji and Klesmet and some of those guys to miss shots and clang off the backboard, UCLA will dominate time of possession. Not time of possession, this isn't football. UCLA will dominate possessions is what I meant to say. UCLA will dominate and control how the pace of this game is played. And I think UCLA gets a comfortable victory over Wisconsin to move on to semifinal Saturday. Bottom part of the bracket in the quarterfinals, interesting matchup. Illinois, Maryland. I love this Maryland team. We talked about Julian Reese, Derek Queen, Jacob Gillespie. Illinois, again, high-flying offense when they're at their absolute peak. Are they the toughest team? Not really. But if you make shots, like I think at the Arkansas game, what they were able to do with Arkansas, where they hit all those threes, it's hard to beat a team when they do that. I think this is a really interesting matchup. I'm going Maryland because I believe in the Terrapins a little more than I do Illinois. Illinois have played the day before, fresher legs. Plus Illinois, again, the roller coaster ride. Maybe you get good Illinois one day, and then they come out against Maryland and, crap the bed. I got Maryland. I think they've been better all year. Give me the Terrapins in the semifinal Saturday, which sets us up for Purdue, Michigan. What a game. They split on each other's home floor. These two teams are they're pretty evenly matched. Like Dusty May's team, Matt Painter's team, both will get after you on the defensive end. Both have elite offensive talent, playmakers. This should be a lot of fun. How does Purdue guard Dusty Wolf and Vlad Golden in the pick and roll? Can Michigan get production out of a Roddy Gale or Trey Donaldson? Does Purdue get production out of somebody not named the big three? I'm going Michigan to win this season series. I've got them beating Purdue for a second time simply because I don't know how Purdue wins this game without getting a fourth guy to step up and make plays in a game like this. Give me the Wolverines semifinal Saturday. That puts us at Indiana, UCLA. Indiana played UCLA really good in Bloomington. They just turned the ball over too much and took bad shots down the stretch, and that UCLA defense stepped up. They made plays. Tyler Bilodeau, Eric Daly was able to make plays. Sky Clark had a good game controlling the tempo. I think this is where Indiana's run ends. I think UCLA kind of mimics what they did in Bloomington a few weeks back. I don't think Indiana is going to turn the ball over as much, but I don't think it's going to matter because UCLA will dare them to shoot from the outside, shut off the water in the interior. Just by the way, they're going to kind of mimic their play style or game plan, if I spit it out, game plan their defensive identity on making sure Renew and Bala, when they catch it, they have to kick it out. They're going to see a lot of double teams, I believe. They're going to shrink the floor, pack the paint, make Indiana beat them from three, and I think that will be the downfall of Indiana in this tournament. Great run to the semifinals. UCLA wins, goes to the championship Sunday. Maryland, Michigan. I like Maryland a whole lot. I really like this Maryland team. I think they have the size to match up with Michigan. Give me Maryland, UCLA championship Sunday. What an interesting matchup this is. I don't think if you went to the final, predicted it before the conference play began, anybody would say UCLA and Maryland. But again, I think these two teams, UCLA's toughness in their first year in the league, Tyler Bilodeau, Eric Daly, Kobe Johnson coming out. You mentioned him from USC as when he gets rolling, can make some big time shots for the Bruins. You're talking about Maryland, who has been great all year. Let's see their first matchup here. Maryland beat UCLA in their one and only matchup this year back on January 10th by 18 points, 79-61. Both teams have gotten better since then. I do think UCLA will keep this at a much tighter ball game. But I'm going the same result. I think between Derek Queen, Jacoby Gillespie, Julian Reese, Rodney Rice, I didn't even talk about, Selton Miguel, I think Maryland is deeper. I think they're the more athletic team. And I think they have a dude inside that can really go to work and draw fouls and make plays in the freshman sensation, Derek Queen. Give me the Maryland Terrapins as your 2025 TIAA Big Ten Men's Tournament Conference Championship winners. First time ever, Maryland Terrapins win the Big Ten Conference Tournament.